Hello and Merry Christmas to you out there. It's good to have you join us on this week's edition of Dateline Lagos. I am BC Adebayo. The year is gradually winding down with so much activities going on in Lagos and other parts of the country ahead of the Christmas holiday. Now, here in Lagos, the state government is still engaged in services trying to fulfill its electoral promises. We'll take a look at the proposed budget of 662.58 billion naira for the 2016 fiscal year presented to the State House of Assembly by Governor Akinwumi Ambode. Also, the Lagos State Security Trust Fund held its 9th town hall meeting as the government promised more funding and equipment to security agencies to combat crime. All right, now let's begin with the budget presentation where Governor Ambode said massive investments in security, transport and traffic management, physical and social infrastructure, as well as job creation are earmarked to receive greater attention.
Over the years, the presentation of Lagos State's budget often attracts people of various categories and status across the state. And so, the main chamber of the Lagos State House of Assembly complex is filled with guests to witness the presentation of the 2016 budget. Among the audience are members of the State Executive Council, former members of the State House of Assembly, traditional rulers, religious leaders, senior citizens of the state, and members of the diplomatic corps. The arrival of the Speaker, Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, signals the commencement of proceedings. Within a few minutes, Governor Akinwumi Ambode makes his way into the main chamber. The last time he visited was to inaugurate the 8th session of the Assembly. This time, he is here to present the 2016 budget, the first of his administration. Governor Ambode presents what he christens the People's Budget.
The year 2016 budget is the first full budget of our administration, christened the People's Budget. We have proposed a budget of 662.588 billion naira for the 2016 fiscal year. This represents an improvement of 26% over the budgets of 2014 and 2015 respectively, which stood at 489.6 billion. The increase will enable our government to focus on the present challenges of security, traffic gridlock resolution, including physical and social infrastructure development, which has thrown up new challenges, quite different from what we used to experience and have always known.
The governor says greater attention will be given to security, transportation, environment, health, roads, agriculture, and food security, as well as job creation.
We plan to use the 2016 budget to strategically build new infrastructure, while we continue to maintain existing ones. Wealth and employment creation will receive a lot of attention as we commence the implementation of the Employment Trust Scheme, which will set aside 25 billion naira over a 4-year period for job creation.
The budget has a recurrent expenditure of 278.9 billion naira, while capital expenditure stands at 386.7 billion naira. It's broken into function groups of general public services, public order and safety, economic affairs, environment, housing and community amenities. Others are health, recreation, culture and religion, education and social protection.
The total revenue estimate for 2016 fiscal year is 542.873 billion naira, which shows that there's a shortfall of 119.7 billion, which will be funded through deficit financing. And that will just be 0.41% of the state GDP based on 2016 budget alone, and a cumulative debt to GDP ratio of just about 3%. The expansionary vision of our previous and current budgets, medium-term economic framework, and Lagos State Development Plan 2012 to 2025 require sustainable budget deficit financing and good debt management to aid implementation.
Governor Ambode, however, raises concern over the dwindling oil revenues, which affects the federal allocation to the state. He admonishes Lagosians to be faithful in tax payment, which attributes much to the state's internally generated revenue.
We have maintained a conservative approach in estimating our federal allocation. This is principally due to falling oil prices that was just about $38 per barrel at the time we finalized this budget. Fiscal federalism and according Lagos' special status will benefit the state as we implore the federal government to look into this as soon as possible. As you are all aware, the federal government still owes Lagos State over 50 billion expended on federal roads in Lagos State. We look forward to an early refund to enable us to utilize the fund on other infrastructure that require attention. Notwithstanding, we have resolved to improve our revenue to GDP ratio, which is just about 2% presently, by broadening the revenue base of the state and bring more citizens into the tax net through automation of tax assessment, collection and administration. In future, an improved revenue base will ensure reduction in our deficit financing. Our internally generated revenue has been our saving grace in Lagos State, but that does not imply that we are immune to the crisis that is rocking other states. To continue to be above board, therefore, I implore all of us to make it a point of duty to pay our taxes appropriately as and when due. On our part, we promise that this budget shall be implemented faithfully and in the best interest of Lagosians.
As he receives the hard copy of the proposed budget from the governor, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, promises speedy deliberation on the appropriation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have listened with rapt attention to how the wealth of our state will be utilized for our common good in year 2016. The responsibility is now on members of this honorable house to do the needful. And I assure you that we will meticulously perform our constitutional duty. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, as the head of an institution that is closest to the grassroots, I must confess some of our people still live in abject poverty. In treating this budget, we will not forget that we are trustees for the people.
Going from here, the State House of Assembly is expected to commence deliberations on the appropriation bill and come up with a budget that will be acceptable and that which will represent the well-being of the people.
Every day, controversies surround us. We are constantly torn between what is legal and what is illegal, what we think is right and what the law says is wrong. On Law Weekly, we help you understand your rights and where you stand. There is no other place to get an in-depth legal analysis. Join us for Law Weekly on Channels Television at this time.
Welcome back. Now, to throw more light on the breakdown of the budget estimate is the Lagos State Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Mr. Akinyemi Ashade.
A budget proposal of 662.588 billion naira has just been presented to the State House of Assembly. First, I need to ask, what's your thought about the name given to it, the proposed budget? What does it imply?
The name is quite appropriate, especially at this time when there are quite a lot of feedback from our people in terms of what the government direction should be and the problems that the government needs to solve. What we did in coming up with this budget is to carry out what we call needs assessments. What are those issues that people are talking to? What do they want the government to deliver? And it's come back to us that our people need government to deal with issue of security. They need government to deal with issue of traffic gridlock. They also need government to deal with the issue of unemployment in our society, because these are the areas that concern our people, and they are really, really concerned about these areas. So we then said it's just appropriate to give them what they deserve, and that is a budget that talks to their need, and that's why we christen it People's Budget.
When we're expecting to see the budget broken down into units or subsectors, probably having monies allocated to them, but we are now seeing them in function groups. Can you explain further on this?
What's typically done all over the world is to have what we call functions of government. There will be public safety and other general public services. There will be the economic affairs, social protection, and on like that. So there are quite 8 or 9 in number. So what that talks to is that you just look at what each ministry is doing. Does it fit into general public service? Part of the budget will be mapped into that. You talk about agric. Agric is a significant part of our economy. We're talking about commerce and industry. It's a significant part of our economy. Things like road transportation and everything, because people and goods need to move from one point of the state to the other. So all those form what we call the economic affairs. And for security, if we look at it, it comes under public safety and other. And what you can also say about security, as we address the issue of traffic gridlock, as we light up Lagos, provide street lights and all that, you are talking indirectly to security, and that's how they interrelate, and that is how these have been really analyzed. Our social protection is things that deal with old people, women empowerment, our youth, and our women essentially. That is where they fall, and even the vulnerable of the society, the disabled and all that. So the government's program to deal with that peculiarity. Currently, what we are doing in line with what the government has set out to do is to monitor this critically, to ensure that our people really enjoy the benefits that comes with this budget. This is the largest budget since the creation of this state, and we want it to count. So the overheads will be tied to performance. If you are supposed to generate some kind of revenue, and if you are at 50% revenue, you only be allowed to access 50% of your overhead. So you cannot spend more while you generate less. So we expect you to want to be very bullish in terms of our revenue drive. We've put in place all sorts of reforms, including automation and providing other channels for people to be able to pay their taxes with ease. So what we are telling our employees and other people that are concerned with the revenue value chain is that go out there, bring the revenue in, and we also want to watch your cost, the cost at which you bring this revenue in. If you want to spend more than the revenue you are going to generate, we will not allow it.
In his speech, the governor mentioned that the state is being owned over 50 billion naira by the federal government. What is the effort of the state government to ensure that this money is refunded to the state coffers?
So for you to appreciate this, if you look at Lagos-Badagry Road, this is an international road. It falls under the purview of the federal government. But since last administration, because Lagos was neglected, the state government has taken it upon itself to ensure that we rehabilitate and rebuild this road afresh. That's what we are doing. And that is costing us a lot of money and a host of other roads and infrastructure in Lagos that were under the federal government's purview. So we've spent money, and they are owing us over 50 billion, and the certification has been done. So what we expect is that the government should refund us, the federal government should refund this money back to us, so that we can actually direct the resources we obtain from that into other critical sectors of the state.